Okay, welcome this evening for our fourth grade economics overview. We are going to be diving into the standards. There are only three for fourth grade, so let's go ahead and jump in. As always, in order to be successful social studies learners in each grade, we want to remind ourselves that it truly is imperative that the students have gained a fundamental understanding through prior years. Each of the lessons that you teach as a teacher in support for the social studies curriculum that you have directly impacts the students' success throughout their education. And I want to just say, as we navigate this era of post-pandemic rather, we understand that there are foundational gaps. And so hopefully tonight we'll be able to answer how to integrate some of those as well as we talk about what fourth graders should be able to do. But as always, we have the kindergarten through fourth grade standard webinars already available, so we can also share those. So in fourth grade, what are we doing? Students really understand in fourth grade US geography. So how does econ and economics fit in? Well, students are going to be looking at wealth within communities and within regions within the United States. So while the overarching theme is US geography, we do find ways to pull economics in. And as always, there is foundational knowledge that students truly must gain in each grade level. So in order to be prepared for fifth grade, students truly must have an understanding that there is an impact of financial strength within a community. And this also builds upon the knowledge of goods and services, import and exportation, and all of those wonderful foundations that were set in prior grades. So our fourth grade standards are: in fourth grade, students will compare the benefits and costs of gentrification in the United States. Fourth grade students will identify benefits of investing in training and diversity, leading to greater production and income within a region. And fourth grade students will explain how supply, demand, and marketing influence the market sellers. As always, we are a collaborative learning community, so please feel free to share any standards-based learning activities that you might have as we deep dive through the standards. And as we do move through, consider the ways that they can be linked together for the most valuable, immersive, thematic learning experiences that students truly become a part of. Because we all know the more that they're involved and they're actually engaging in those activities, the more memorable it is and the greater understanding they will have. So our first standard is truly about regional wealth. We are looking to compare the benefits and costs of gentrification within the United States. Some of our students might come to us having an understanding of what that word means, but others might not. So the first thing that we really want to do is always do a quick jot. You can define gentrification for the class and then have students do a quick jot to reflect on what they heard or any relative experience that they may have. Of course, dialogue and discourse is important, so have those students share out or team up and give them an equity of voice in that word, in the experiences that they might have. Pros and cons. There are wonderful YouTube videos all about the pros and cons of gentrification, and this is really what the standard is heading at. What are the benefits? What are the costs? So have a class discussion and have students complete a T-chart of the pros and cons of gentrification as stated in the video. The next one is a novel study. We haven't done these before. So the novel study is Take Back the Block. It is a wonderful text by Crystal D. Giles, and you can do a complete novel study with the class and really deep dive into the understanding of that character and the impact that it is having on the character and the characters within the greater story. And then lastly, a persuasive writing activity. You can have students use that knowledge that they've now gained of the costs and the benefits of gentrification and examine where they think they fit into that, right? So they could pretend that they are living in an area that is being used or being examined for redevelopment. You can have the students write a persuasive essay as to whether the area should be redeveloped or if it should remain the neighborhood it is from the perspective of a child living there. So these are a few novels that all hit on gentrification. The first being the first example that we talked about, which was a great novel that coincides with this standard and can lead to a lot of great class discourse as you read through. And it is called Take Back the Block. The next one is Alejandra Fights Back, Some Places More Than Others, and Dragons in a Bag. So for this next standard, I wanted to really identify that there are certain things that students really should understand and be reflective of as they are moving through. So there's two pieces to this standard. It's diversity training, but it's also training, preparing students for entering the workforce, right? So when we think of diversity training, we want to make sure that students are understanding that production will increase if diversity training and investing in those students is started at an early age, if it is something that they are truly investing in as a company. So we want to look at diversity specifically because we're not always having those discussions as to how it is increasing profit, right? So just some pointers that would be really helpful to point out to your class is diversity does boost a company's reputation, leading to greater revenue returns. Diverse ideas lead to greater innovation and creativity. Inclusivity opens the door to a wider, more diverse talent pool. And employees who feel included and accepted are more productive and positive in the workplace. And I think that we can draw some wonderful connections as well within our classroom, right? We all know that students who have a relationship with their teacher, who have a relationship with their class, who feel as if they can take risks, are going to put themselves out there more often, who are going to have a greater productive day at school and have a bit higher learning outcome. So there's some commonalities that can be drawn within the classroom environment as well to diversity training within the workplace. So as we move through, this objective truly states that students will identify benefits of investing in training and diversity, leading to a greater production and income within a region. Again, we're always bringing it back to that geography piece because that is fourth grade. So our first book is really about diversity and differing opinions and uniqueness that we all have. The Crayon Box That Talked. Now, for those of you that are familiar, it is a very lovely story that is often done at the younger grades, but the message still applies. And I still use it with my fifth graders, and they still involve themselves in it every single year, and they still truly believe it. So when we talk about, oh, maybe a math problem is hard or this is hard, nope. We all are different. You're each unique. You each have a different way of processing the information being given to you. We're each unique. We can bring it together, and together we are complete. So that is the whole message in the story if you are not familiar. So the book still rings true even in the upper grades, including fourth and fifth grade. So the story, The Crayon Box That Talked, truly what you want to do is explain to students that just as they often write from different perspectives, they each hold their own unique way of thinking about the world around us and how we go about our lives in school, and that this is also true for the workplace as they get older. It still applies. So same concepts, even when they're older. You can explain to students that each of us are unique and have something to offer. Therefore, all of our viewpoints should be respected. So you can read the story, The Crayon Box That Talked, and have students brainstorm a list of the many reasons why our diverse thinking and diverse background experiences might be helpful within a workplace and the many different things that we contribute to it. So our answers might include that they might come up with our understanding all of our perspectives, encouraging our own sensitivity to differing opinions, and happy employees lead to reduced turnover, which means they don't want to leave, and that creating an environment where all employees are valued equally. You can also jigsaw some scenarios. And in this situation, it's fun to get the class discoursing, engaging in that dialogue where you're giving them different situations, and then the students are having to figure out, well, how are we working together to come to a unanimous conclusion, right? So for this one, you're going to divide the students into groups with different school scenarios to be discussed. Each group should have a different level of decision making to be completed. So after the students have engaged in discourse, have students reflect on their discussions and how they were, and if they were effective, and if they came to a unanimous resolution. Did the group collaborate well? Some questions that you might want to ask. Did they come to that unanimous agreement? And the students then discuss the importance of respecting diverse opinions and backgrounds within a work environment. So truly, you can set it up like a boardroom style, or as if they're having a business meeting, right? Except they're taking matters of our everyday school life very seriously. We did try to come up with just some examples on different scenarios that you could use that might be applicable, where some are, easier for all the students to get on board, and others there might be more of a debate. And then you can have that class share out what their experience was on each of the topics. So one scenario could be that the students have to debate whether there's going to be more recess. I'd say that's a pretty easy one in their opinion. Another scenario might be that students debate if their teacher should have more vacation. Maybe she should leave next week, and I would take them up on that. Scenario 3 is students debate whether one student should be in charge of sharpening the pencils daily. Now that sounds tedious, and I don't know if they're going to want to agree on this one. And then the last one is students debate what their next research project should be. So also maybe more of a difficult challenge versus, yeah, we get more recess. So again, you can modify that as needed, but having them engage in different boardroom type meetings and discussions also translates to having a great conversation about what it would be like to have that happen in a work environment when their jobs and their livelihood and the income depended on it. Our next one is an icebreaker, truly. What's different? What's the same? It's always fun to get students up and moving and truly being a part of something, and especially when you can bring in that visual aspect. So you can line students up in a circle and begin by stating one thing about yourself that is different from the student to your right, and one thing that is the same. Have each student go around that circle and discuss one thing that is different and one thing that is the same about themselves to the person to their right. When everyone has gone in the entire class, you can then have students discuss the many ways that our differences and similarities enhance the classroom environment. You can then engage students in a discussion and generate a list about the ways that our differences and connections benefit a work environment. And then, of course, have students attempt to answer the essential question of how investing in diversity would lead to a greater productivity within that workplace, right? More people working together, shared vision, different ideas, different collaborations that are happening. That could lead to greater productivity. It could lead to greater ideas within the workplace and changes being made. And then one of the last ones that we have is there have been a lot of partnerships recently happening within our state with different school districts and businesses coming in and involving themselves in STEM communities, STEM activities, excuse me. I look specifically just at New Haven because that is something where that is local to myself. And there were 4 different articles that popped up right away about Southern Connecticut State University, the manufacturing companies in New Haven investing $2 million into this pathway program that's happening. Yale creating 150 free STEM programs rather that get students thinking about engineering and science. And then also the University of New Haven collaborating with Sikorsky to host STEM event for high school students. There truly is a lot of interest being paid within those grade levels, whether it's elementary or all the way up to high school, where companies are now coming in and making those investments now and offering apprenticeships for those students so that they're piquing that interest at an earlier age and really getting students thinking about what opportunities and what they would need to do to secure one of those employment opportunities in their future. So this could be done just looking at your area and finding articles about how that can happen. You can then have the students read the articles and pick out all of the benefits, because as we read these articles, there's want to talk up, they want to sell the benefits of this partnership that is happening. So you could have the students highlight the benefits and then create, different diagrams about all of them. I'm thinking about the word cloud, and they could be putting in and really visualizing all of the wonderful ways that investing in training and investing in our youth will benefit the workplace going forward and the innovation that we have here in Connecticut. So a few books that we have, of course, there's the Cranbox that talked, We All Belong, Our Diversity Makes Us Stronger, and Acceptance is My Superpower. And our last standard for 4th grade truly explains how profit influences sellers and markets throughout regions in the United States. So the first game really draws upon foundational knowledge that would need to be required from prior years. So on the next few slides, you're going to see that there are some just refreshers that I've pulled from our prior series in 2nd and 1st grade on activities, just to make sure that students have an awareness of scarcity, abundance, local products, importation, etc. So to play The Price is Right, you can divide the class into equal groups or equal teams to play The Price is Right. Hold up cards with a product on it and have the team discuss. So maybe it's a banana, maybe it's a shoe, just a good that they have, maybe that is local from the community. The team with the closest guess as to the actual price can then have to say two factors that would contribute to that price. So if it isn't local, well, maybe the price they decided had to be more because it had to be imported, right? So therefore, we're drawing upon that knowledge. Maybe it's something that's scarce that they don't have a lot of. So again, they bid higher because they know that it's a limited quantity and the number would go up. So the class concludes with a discussion then on how different products may have different prices in different regions as well throughout the United States. So going back to our knowledge on first grade in import and exportation, they used to look at maps and have those discussions about what was the local product in the East versus the local products coming from the West or the Southwest. So therefore, they're drawing on that knowledge of regional goods as well, but also tying in the US geography of fourth grade. The students can then explain, and their explanations rather should draw upon, once again, that knowledge of scarcity, abundance, local products, importations as being the main and key influences within a seller's decision. The next one is including what I said, the foundational knowledge behind this, right? So if students are coming to you and we all know that they might not have this foundation because of what we've been through in post-pandemic. So if you need to do a few refreshers, one could be whether something is scarce or not scarce. You could explain that scarce means not enough of something. And scarce means, or I'm sorry, not scarce means or having enough of something, and scarce means not enough. So on a T-chart, you can either read aloud or quietly a variety of scenarios in which decisions have to be made using only the resources or supplies that students have available. The students can then correctly sort the scenario as to whether or not there is a scarce or an abundant amount of the item described. So for example, a winter storm is approaching and the town is preparing the plows and sand trucks to help traffic around town. The drivers realize there isn't enough sand to treat all the roads in town and decide to only sand the main roads and roads with hills. Does that mean they have a scarce amount of sand or an abundant amount of sand? The next one is all about importation and versus exportation. So the first one is about lunchtime, right? And this is where we're going to be going against import and exportation. So the first one is students examine a sample lunch. So it could be something brought from home, school, lunch, or teacher designated. On a 5-column chart, the teacher can then assist students to record the product, which may or may not be photographed, and the origin country. You can show this again on the map, pulling in those regional skills in geography. Students then discuss whether the recorded information indicates that the product is from the local community, nationally produced, or imported. And you can tally up at the end, pulling in that math as well, how many are produced locally or nationally. And then another one that really solidifies our knowledge of importation versus exportation is just doing a quick think, pair, share, right? So students can think about local products that they know about or may have seen within their community. And students can then tell their partner what products they think are local. Students would then share their ideas with a larger group or whole class. And one of the next ones is called lemonade stand. We all know that students like to get up and have knowledge maybe of running their own lemonade stand in their past. So students can be divided into equal teams, and then you can present them with a task of creating a lemonade stand or something similar that might be more applicable to something that they can do in school, maybe making buttons and selling them to the school. So this could be something that could be easily adapted. The teams must pre-plan their stand by examining what supplies they would need, how much the supplies would actually cost them, and then determine a selling price and forecast their profits. So the teams present their plans to the class and discuss how competition between the teams would have to lower their costs and prices, but also encourages them to produce more of what consumers are actually willing to buy. But there is an extension activity. So if you wanted to go further with this, you could explain to the class that the 2 teams with the most successful business plan have succeeded at the market. Of course, they're going to celebrate. Have students discuss why the other two would not succeed, drawing upon their knowledge that competition in the market depends on the number of buyers and sellers. So now that the other teams are no longer there, what might happen? You can discuss how these prices and profits may change if there was a smaller number of sellers, right? Now that they have less in their class, would it change their business model at all? Would they be more successful in a different region in the United States? So, for instance, would consumers in a snowstorm in Maine want to pay for lemonade or pay less than those living in Florida? Would they want to? Would they be more profitable selling something else that consumers may want more, such as hot cocoa on a nice snowy night? And of course, the Lemonade War series truly hits upon this lovely. We also have a story about launching their own business and another great activity book where it's all about the kid. I always say this wrong, kidtrepreneur and the boy who worked more. And also giving them that idea that, hey, even at my age where I'm at, I can start thinking about making profits and how that might influence in the world around me, my community might influence the way that I would be profitable in the end result. So, as always, we do have vocabulary at each grade level, drawing upon some from the prior and then adding new words in, such as gentrification. So, we have neighborhood, cost, location, region, bringing in the US geography, product, training, supply, demand, analyze, gentrification, productivity, benefits, wealth, interdependence, profit, influence, markets, and marketing. And again, you can see the progression of how this works. We've really started with a core group about community and goods and services when we were in kindergarten. And every year we have built on that. First grade, we added in different types of community and not just the community initially surrounding you. Then we added in, what if we don't have enough goods and services in second grade? Third grade talks about tax. And fourth grade, we are looking at gentrification and the impact of wealth within communities and regions and within our country as well.